I've gotten a couple of questions about how to handle the kids when you have a falling out with either somebody in your family or a close friend. One viewer wrote in and wanted to know how to talk to her son about his cousins. She had a falling out with her brother because of the sister-in-law, and they don't really speak, so her son doesn't see his cousins. So he's asked about his cousins. So what do you say? I wouldn't I wouldn't say you don't have cousins, of course. That would be lying. You don't want to say that. But I would say honestly that you do have cousins. We just don't see them. But that doesn't mean that you can't have a relationship with them later on. You can see them, and I hope that that will happen someday, and you can make that happen someday. So just because we don't see them now doesn't mean that they're not going to be a part of your life later on, because your son will get older and then he can see his cousins if he wants to. He can reach out on Facebook or wherever, and the cousins can communicate with him. And at some point, they don't need their father's permission when they're adults or late teens or whenever this happens. So I wouldn't in any way be dishonest with it. And I don't think you are. I think that you're being honest, and I think that's the way to go. Just tell them the absolute truth. Maybe not to the point where your aunt won't let me talk to your uncle or anything like that, but kids get a sense of what's going on. So if you say, look, we're not in touch with them. We're not really getting together with them right now, but I think it's going to change later on. And it will, because, like I said, your son can take the initiative and contact his cousins. So don't hide anything. Keep things open. If he has questions, you can slowly explain as he gets older what's going on. And you never know, the relationship could change. And you hope that it does. And you hope that someday your son will have a relationship with his cousins, and I bet that does happen. Now, I also got a comment from a viewer who has an ex-best friend, and they had a falling out, but she's the godmother to her friend's child. So what do you do? Do you still continue to get the child gifts? I had a sort of a similar situation. Not exactly like that, but I had a friend who I just lost contact with, and she was my son's godmother. And of course, she had no contact with them later on. We just lost touch, and she didn't send him presents. And honestly, I would really be surprised if she did. So I think that's the same with your ex-friend. I would think that your ex-friend would be rather surprised if you continue to send gifts to her child. So I would say don't send them anymore. I really would, because then it would be awkward. And then what happens when there's no thank you note from the kid because the kid would want to send a thank you note maybe but can't because of the relationship? Just yeah, I would let that go. I honestly would let that go and give it a rest, and maybe you could repair the relationship down the road with your friend. If not, I would still let it go. And you could always, again, resume it if you were to ever reconnect with your friend. But at this point, yeah, I wouldn't send any more gifts.